has been a week since Russian forces began their invasion of their sovereign neighbor. And despite a flood of sanctions targeting President Putin, his closest allies, and some of Russia's wealthiest oligarchs, there are no signs of an imminent ceasefire. For more on this, let's bring in retired Major General Dean Milner, who's the last Canadian commander in Afghanistan. Major General, good evening to you. Thanks for being here.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Beatrice.
As we go into now this second week of this military assault, what are you watching for, Major General?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to watch. I think the Russians started off slowly. I think that they didn't anticipate hitting such resistance from the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have put up a good fight. I think they've made a few mistakes, but logistically, and they didn't go after a lot of the key strategic capabilities like I thought they would. I thought they'd take out their air and take out a lot of their air defense. They still left a lot of that intact. But it's clear now that they're going after the strategic cities. They've gone after the two key southern ones, Kherson and Mariupol, and they've got the one, Kherson, and they're close to getting the second one, Mariupol. They're moving strategically from the north down towards Kyiv. They've pretty well taken Kharkov. It's really watching how they do things now. I think that again, they want to encircle Kyiv to try and make the Ukrainians surrender.
Are you surprised, Major General, that it has taken so long? I remember at the start of this, the Russians were saying we could take Kyiv in 48 hours if we wanted to, and here we are a week later, and Kyiv is still standing. It's still under the control of the Ukrainians.
Yes, I think that, I honestly see that they have been challenged. The Ukrainians have put up an extremely capable fight, and they continue. The bottom line is that I don't think the Russians thought this was going to go like this. So the fight is taking longer than a lot of us did think. But I can tell you that they're definitely gaining momentum. They've got a lot of capabilities out there, as you can see from the miles and miles of tanks and armored vehicles, and they do mean business. I think we've all heard Mr. Putin say today that the worst is yet to come. So yes, I think they've learned lessons. Logistically, they've not been as good, but I think they're working on that. And we need to keep supporting the Ukrainians with weapons. And I honestly think that they want more. I don't think Putin's not going to stop here. So deterrence, NATO, we've really got to be looking at that, because I think that he wants Moldova. I think he wants the Baltic states. He's not going to stop at this.
Soviet Union ambitions. We were showing some of the overhead photos of the 40-mile-long Russian convoy. What's the strategy of keeping that convoy sitting like that for several days now? And what's the morale like of these Russian soldiers, Major General, many of whom I assume they're sleeping, not in very comfortable quarters in this convoy? What are they eating? What are these soldiers thinking right now as well?
Well, I think the positive side is that the Ukrainians have been able to hit them. So they have been able to stop them in a few different places. And the fact is they are targets. They're huge targets. So, this is good for the Ukrainians. But the bottom line is, yes, they're stuck. That it's easy to jam up a big long convoy like that, and I think their morale would be decreasing. You've got to feed, you've got to support, you've got to take care of that long 40 kilometer length of vehicles. So I think there's positives to take away from it from the Ukrainians, but I think yes, the Russians can't be happy that they're stuck. But again, they can still move and they can still do a lot of damage. And so, what they're going to do with them next needs to be seen. But I'm sure that encircling Kiev and is their ultimate goal.
It seems these ceasefire talks are continuing between the two sides, Major General. It looks like they've kind of reached some kind of agreement to allow the civilians to have a path to escape. Do you trust the Russians? Do you think they'll honor this ceasefire to allow innocent men, women, children to leave the country?
Well, it's a great question. I was even surprised initially that they're going to allow this to happen. So I think that they'll allow this to happen for a short period of time. I think they'll take advantage of it any way they can, but it is an initial good gesture to let some supplies in, to let some hospital capabilities in, and but again, I think this is just going to be for a very short period of time because. Putin means business, and he is not going to stop until he's taken the Ukraine, and I think something that we're going to probably start to see is that the Ukraine's being supplied from the West. So what is he going to do to stop that or to slow that down? I think that's probably going to be what his next moves are. He's got the South pretty close. He obviously has the East. He's attacking from Belarus in the North. Is he going to start moving some of those forces farther west to completely block supplies from coming in towards Kyiv?
Fascinating stuff. Major General Dean Milner, thanks so much for your time, for your analysis tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Beatrice.